This is a tutorial for local treasurers on how to keep track of your material assignments and offerings. These are part of the Guide Treasurer reconciliation sheets. All right, so you want to log into the web application, and when you first do, you'll probably go first to the data section and the workshops page. And you can see here that in semester 2, 2018, we have a handful of our workshops entered so far. And the ideal time to do the Guide Treasurer reconciliation sheets, the materials assignments, is in the beginning of the semester, but after all of the workshops have been entered. So right now we have 14 guides that do not have a workshop entered here, so this is not the ideal time to do it. So once you are in that situation, you would click over here to Materials. Unlike the other pages, none of these pages show up automatically, so you have to click on Workshop Materials under Assignments to Guides. Workshop Materials. So it shows up as the Workshop Materials Assignments page. And just so you know, if you want to go back, you have to put your cursor over this symbol here, and then you can switch over to some of the other pages. So in the beginning of the semester, we don't have any material assignments yet, so we want to click on this link or on this plus icon. So we have Create Workshop Material Assignments page. And in the very beginning, every time you do something like this, you need to select a transaction type. Since we do not have any material assignments yet, this checkbox is already filled in, assignment, and the other two, return of material and offering, are grayed out. So we see that the primary guides are listed here, all of the primary guides, as well as future guides, if they're in stage 3, are listed here. And the workshop type and language are listed here. And if the particular guide does not have a workshop, it will be listed no workshops. And so the ones that we saw listed before under data are shown here, and we know the type and language of each one. Each of these is oriented towards the particular type and language of that workshop. A very important thing to point out is that you can only enter in these slightly blue boxes here. All these boxes simply show you what is already there. A lot of people want to click here and enter or replace things here, but that's not how it works. This is called Current Transaction, and you need to put your cursor here and enter the numbers. So here in Austin, we typically give out 25 to each person in the beginning. So I click on 25 here and then press return or click anywhere else. And what you'll see is that they all get filled in automatically. Sometimes this is very convenient. Sometimes if you do a second or third one of these, it can be a little bit unfortunate. So keep in mind that when you do this, this automatically fills. And if you do not want to do any of these assignments, you need to take them back to 0 manually. So type 0, tab, 0, tab, 0, tab, 0, tab. Tab is a good way to get to the next spot. I'm actually not going to create a huge number of these things because I'm going to delete them later. So when you have your current transaction quantities, okay, this is the quantity of encounter books and complementary material sets that you're giving out, in this case on the first distribution of those materials. So you would click Save when everything is ready. So here we're making 1, 2, 3 assignments all together. It says it's working, and it says success. We created our 3 workshop assignments. If at any point any of these is fouled up or incorrect, you can just press the delete button and then confirm the deletion. You also want to make sure that these workshops are entered correctly. Adults English, Adults Spanish, young adults, etc. Once you start adding these types of things to the workshops, it gets more and more difficult to change the type and language of the workshop if it is incorrect. Suppose we were to realize that somebody needed some additional ones, we could either edit all and go to the previous page. We would now have to click on assignment. It's not automatic. And then we could give someone, say, an additional 10. And in this case, it does not replicate down the line. So we could say save on that. And now we see that we have 25 and 10 for a total of 35 for that particular one. We also have the value of each of those individually, and then the amount that would be due if none of them came back. So we can press back now and see that we have our workshop assignments, 25 on the first and then 10 on the second for this particular workshop. All right, so the next step comes after the second week of the workshop. The guides should bring the material back to you, and in that case we want to visit this page again and again go to workshop materials. Often we get multiple boxes back from the guides, in which case it's more convenient to edit all at once, but you can edit individual ones if you wish. So in this case, we're talking about a transaction type of return with the possibility of a donation also. But typically it's just the return. So again, here's the current transaction area. Materials and donations. For materials, the quantity of encounter books that were received, that were returned, and the quantity of complementary materials, the songbook, etc. And then how much in cash and how much in check was received. So in this particular case, 35 total were given out. If 5 were returned, let's just go ahead. Well, typically we would get a certain amount of money, and hopefully we would have checked that that was the correct amount of money. 30 times 12 is 360. So suppose we get 360 altogether and say save. Okay, so the total due, okay, so look what happened. We got 5 returned, 30 is the balance, and so the value is this and this, total of 360. In this next case, let's say that we got say 20 back, which meant that we sold 5. We could actually say save at this point, I suppose. And that would say that we owe $60. And this is red because nothing has been entered here. So we could say, well, we got, say, $50, which would be a mistake, but we might have collected the wrong amount or typed in the wrong amount. And it's going to say, well, you got 50, but it still should be 60, so it's still outlined in red. So then once we get, say, we got a check for 10 that we forgot about, we would enter that in, say save, and then we'd have our 60. And of course, you don't have to do all of them at a time if this particular person hasn't given their material back. So when you're finished with this, we've already said save, it doesn't hurt to do it again, and then we go back and we see here is the status of our workshop material assignments. All right, now the next thing, of course, that happens is after the 12th session, the guides come back and give you the offerings. And by the way, the easiest way to do this is to print out the sheets and then keep track of them manually, and then copy from the sheets into the app. So let's go ahead and imagine that we received offerings from everyone, and then we would want to edit all. Go to transaction type and click on offering. And then again, don't try to put it directly in here, but we need to go to the current transaction. We record how many envelopes we got, how much cash we got, how many checks we got, and then cash, checks. Okay, so then we save it. And when we're finished, we go back. And now we have our 3 reconciliation sheets that are complete, except for this number here. We can also go to reports as a local treasurer. I probably should have said this in the beginning. We can go to workshops, all reports, and say all reconciliation reports. The second one is one that I did not actually create, but it is here, and we can go ahead and print these 7 sheets of paper because we had 7 workshops. This first one I filled out completely. The second one is totally blank. So print these out in the beginning of the semester and then use them as you go around and give out the material, collect the material, and get the offerings back. All right, thank you for your attention. I hope this was clear. You may have to watch it again and go through the steps one by one along with the video.